right. Let's see. Okay, so no one in the comments section is here yet, but we are live.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so we got. All right, good. We got people in here. Very good. Thank you, guys. All right, it's probably a little bit on the early side for a lot of my subscribers, but hopefully your subscribers are watching as well. So let's jump into it. Well, first of all, do me a favor. Bjorn, right? That's your first name.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Could you do me a favor and let people know who you are, who don't know who you are?
Yeah, sure. I'm Norwegian, um, and I have a YouTube channel, and I'm a novelist actually. That's my profession. But I've been on YouTube for a few years now, and I tend to make videos mostly about, I guess you would. I like to say the Viking lifestyle, but it's the mindset of being prepared and being, well, I make videos about lots of topics actually, but we'll get into that as well.
All right. All right. So um, I have to ask you, what made you get into YouTube? What was your reasoning for starting your channel?
Well, actually, it was um, I wanted to document on video some of the research I do as a novelist, as an historical novelist, with a focus on the Viking Age, uh, and I think made was a video of me making a longbow, um, and um, and that's how it started. I think it gets me out of the office, so that's great, and it's great fun. So I just kept making videos,
Very
and I enjoy being part of a community.
good. Well, listen, I have to tell you, and I told you this before. I told you this the other day. I've been following you for a couple of years, and so a lot of your videos, especially your wilderness advice videos, they were great. Listen, they come in handy. They've made my sleeping out on the ground or in a tent on a lean-to a lot easier than trying to learn from my on my own. I mean, listen, a lot of things you got to learn on your own, but I found it very good that that your channel taught me what it needed to teach me.
Well, that's the beauty of YouTube, that you can go and find videos, and I do it often, and I've learned so much from channels on YouTube. Um, but as you say, one thing is watching a video, but you have to do it on your own, and you have to get through the initial learning phase, I guess you could say.
Right.
I struggle a lot with the bow drill. I knew how to do it from videos, but I struggled to learn how to do it in real life.
Really? Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us do, man. The bow drill is a pain in the ass. I got it once, and I told myself this winter I was going to practice it more. So come hella high water, I was going to start a fire just using that. I mean,
Mm.
it's the idea. All right. So, what are your best wilderness skills, if you will?
Uh, I don't know, but I would say that maybe I've been lucky because the way I grew up, it was a very spending time out in the woods was very much a part of my life, and I'm self-taught, because even though we did go for walks in the woods. I was never taught how to make fire and things like that, so I'm self-taught. But I had easy access to the woods
Okay.
where I grew up, and so I would say general understanding of and maybe even a little bit experience is my advantage.
Nice.
I don't want to view myself as someone very experienced, because there are people out there, with uh, there is this expression "dirt time," and they
Yeah.
have so much dirt time that I feel like a complete beginner compared to them. But it's been a few years, it is a very natural part of my life, and it always has been. Mm.
Well, yeah, you know what? It's funny. Like you said earlier, you have access to the wilderness, whereas a lot of us here in the city, we have to
Mm.
drive, like an hour or
Yeah.
two out of the city, and you could pretty much just open your door and boom, you're there.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I grew up in the suburbs of Oslo, the capital of Norway.
Okay.
And when I was, I guess, in the 70s and into the 80s, that area was quite, in a way, rural.
Right.
But then people started building more and more houses. And I actually got to witness how it all changed. So now that same area there are no woodland there, nothing.
Really?
And now you have to drive to get to the woods. I
No.
don't live there anymore, but I live, it's I can throw a stone and I'm in the woods from
Yeah.
here, and right behind my house, and so that's wonderful. I wouldn't move back to the city now. Uh, my wife and I, we are in a we don't have to. I know, because I want to say that because I know lots of people, they have to live in the city because that's where they work.
Right.
So, so it's easy for me to say, well, you should move out into the countryside, but not everyone. I realize not everyone can just do that.
Right. Up and leave. Exactly.
Mm.
Berserker Gang, thank you for the donations. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Good to have you here.
Oh, you know who he is?
Yeah, he came up from Germany and helped me not not long ago, and he helped me build my Viking cabin.
No kidding. Very good.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank
go
you.
go and everyone go and subscribe to to his channel. It's an awesome YouTube channel.
Berserker
Yeah.
Gang 2019.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right, guys, you heard that. Berserker Gang 2019. Head over to his channel and like and subscribe to it. Uh, if he's saying it's good, then I'm 1,000% sure it's good. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. How
Yes.
hard is it to prep in where you're from?
It's not hard at all. It's actually very easy. It's very easy.
Okay.
The I think until the whole coronavirus thing started, it was very like you couldn't say you're a prepper because it was looked down upon. Oh, you're one of those crazy people.
Okay.
But um, suddenly, like almost overnight, that kind of changed. Um, so now the attitude is a little bit different. I still wouldn't say I'm a prepper because people don't really understand what it is. But you have like I think it's the same in your country. The government actually wants you to be a prepper. They want you to have certain a to stock up on some food and to have they have a list actually. The Norwegian government, they've issued a list, and that list looks very much like a very basic preppers list.
Okay.
Um, what they're saying is you should have food for 3 days. Well, that's a little bit short, but
Yeah.
still, they are actually saying that these are the items you should always have in your home, and so that's good. So it's, to answer your question, it is practically it's easy, but there is still stigma attached to it. But I less people than before care about that. So yeah.
Wow. Well, shit. All right. Well, that sort of sucks. Wandering Lens Media, thank you for the donation. And for those of you that are joining us, if you will, uh, the time change was because of Bjorn. It's 9 o'clock his time. That makes it 3 o'clock our time. They are 6 hours ahead. So
Mm.
there's no way he would be doing it at what, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, if we did it at 9 our time, or my time rather. Sorry. So
I will be like this then.
yeah, he would still be sleeping. So that's why there was a time change. So there will be a couple of more time changes like this should I have more guests on from the other side of the world. So thank you for that. Gemini Prepper, thank you for the donations, man. We appreciate it. All right, so in Norway, I mean, you said that, preppers are looked at funny in your country. So do you think there's a big movement in your country or not so much?
Well, not so much, and that disappoints me because people started buying food. They started stocking up on supplies when the corona thing started. But then that changed, and because the government, they issued this ID that do not hoard food, and it actually says so in the shops, in the stores. Keep your distance, do not hoard food, on posters.
No shit.
Um, okay, I'll do what I want. Thank you very much, but it's so I was disappointed because the attitude changed and it went back to a little bit that old naive mindset, I would say.
Right.
But then again, this is Norway, so there's a big difference between what people are saying out in public and what they're really thinking and what they're saying behind closed doors, in private.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult.
Wow. Yeah, that's I mean, yeah, like here in the United States, they want you to prep for disasters and stuff like that. But I've never
Mm.
heard that. That's insane. Saying, oh, don't hoard food. That's telling people don't prep. We'll help you kind of deal. Which is, I've never heard of that. And that's insane that they're taking that stance.
Yeah,
Irish.
why they're doing it. I just want to say it's they are doing that because the Norwegian food supplies are. I've heard different numbers of
Right.
days, but I'm pretty sure we do not have food stores for more than 1 month in Norway
Wow.
for the nation. You know,
Holy shit.
1 month. That's the maximum. That's what I've heard. So that's why they're saying do not hoard food, because if people started hoarding food, the stores would be empty.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. Irish Rebel,
Mm.
Eric, and the Viking. Thank you for the uh, donations. We appreciate it. And sorry about the way I'm moving. My neck is killing me right now.
Oh, you hurt yourself, did you?
I went to sleep and I woke up with a stiff neck. So,
Oh no.
and then like an
Mm.
idiot, I go downstairs to work out and whatever. So I think I made it worse, but we'll see.
Oh.
So now, what are for Europeans, right? What are the what are your concerns when it comes to prepping? For those that prep, what are you hearing them say? What's their concern and the reason why they're prepping?
Again, it's not talked about much.
Okay.
I think there are lots of people prepping, but they do not want to talk about it. But Uh, it's it it's different from person to person, I would say, and it's different between nations. And Norway is kind of outside of Europe. We're not part of the EU,
Right.
and we view ourselves as independent. Maybe we are not, but that's the Norwegian attitude, I guess.
Well, very good.
Um, we, I would say that the attitude among Norwegians when it comes to prepping is that we will all go hunting and we will live off the land. I think it's a little bit naive, but that is, we have a hunting culture here, and I think it's a bit naive, as I said. Um, I don't know anyone who preps. I don't know anyone even who stores food. Um,
Wow.
so I've stored some food for friends and family. So if there's a big crisis, okay, I have some carbs for you. You can
Oh,
come and get some carbs. That's okay.
very good.
Um, but it's like um, it's hard to tell because I think there are people again that are prepping, but they're not talking about it. Mm,
All right. Well, I mean, like you said that it's frowned upon, so you're not going
mm,
to get a big conversation like you do here in the states. So that makes sense.
mm.
I curious about this. How are the gun laws different from the U.S. where you live?
Yeah, it's not as liberal as in your country,
Okay.
but it is more liberal in the sense that you can have guns, it's more so than people tend to think. It's not very difficult to get to own a rifle. You have to get a hunting license, but if you get a hunting license, you can have a rifle in your home. Um, Now, I don't know so much about firearms, but I think it's quite difficult to own like automatic weapons and things like that. My knowledge is limited when it comes to the rules concerning that. I do know that you have rifles and shotguns for hunting if you have a hunting license. So there's a lot of those around. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Mm.
at least it's I mean, at least you guys get the hunting. I mean, listen, even here in New York City, you can own a hunting rifle. It's not completely um, locked down, but it's getting to that point where I think they're going to start ruling out hunting rifles as well. But we have to wait and see. So I have
Mm.
to ask you,
Yeah.
what? How was it for you to watch our elections? Now we're going to switch gears a little bit, but how was it for you to sit back and watch the uh, the clown show, if you will, from where you were?
Um, it was a bit. It was comedy in a way,
Okay.
and I'm saying that out of respect because you can laugh or you can cry. I chose to laugh at it, but it's tragic, really. It is very disappointing to see. Um, Now, I'm going to say this, and some Norwegian watching this might not like it, but okay, there are evidence of fraud. And if you can't say there are evidence of fraud, you've been living under a rock. I'm not saying that would have changed the result of the election.
Right.
That we do not know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I've seen evidence of fraud. Okay, and that should not happen in and so that's very disappointing. That the mainstream media in Norway, of course, and in your country, they're constantly saying It's the same sentence actually here in Norway. It's like someone decided you should always write this sentence in the news. Now, in every article, there are no evidence of fraud. That's what they're saying all the time.
Hmm.
Um, it was what's that word when surreal. It was surreal to watch it.
It
Um,
it was. You're right.
yeah, it's and also I have education in statistics.
Right.
So with that background, looking at the result, looking at everything, it's so strange. It's so strange what happened there. Your result. It's yeah.
Well,
He's a
listen.
magician, this Biden fellow. He's a magician.
Yes.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm glad. I'm glad you said it because people keep like there was no. I'm like there's evidence of it, but like you said, would it have made a difference? We don't know. But me personally, I'm already like, all right, you know what? Biden's in office, but there's two or three cases right now that are headed to the Supreme Court, and we just got to wait and see what they say. Other than that,
Yeah. Yeah.
as of right now, it's Biden. And so uh, if the Trump team can't give the proof that they need, other than hearsay or speculation, then it is what it is. It's a shame that the election went down the way it did, but they need to find that proof, and they need to find it now and not later.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, well, I'm getting provoked by these journalists. They're saying constantly there have been, they can't, there was no fraud. But listen, what I've seen is small scale fraud,
yeah,
and it's if that's not proofs that what I've seen, then nothing is. So I'm not saying, as you say, that it would have changed the outcome. I personally think it would have, but we don't know. Um, But it's so dishonest to say constantly that there have been no fraud. Like parrots, they're like this. It's so dishonest. But okay, I lost faith in mainstream media many years ago anyway. But yeah, it's
it's bad.
no,
I hear you.
it's frustrating.
Mari Park,
Energy drink.
is that what you're drinking? An energy drink, Mercury. Mari Park.
It's a Monster energy drink. It's my guilty pleasure.
Oh, no
Uh,
kidding.
um,
He says I'm buffering too much. We'll have to watch later. Yeah, guys, there is some technical issues with the buffering, so we apologize for that. Mary Park, thank you for the donation, and Gary, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it, guys. You guys are doing good with just watching, so I appreciate it. It is kind of early for us here, but like I said, we make the adjustments when adjustments need to be made. So
yeah.
uh, let's uh, let's move on. Okay, what is your opinion on the whole COVID situation or crap, or however you want to look at it?
Well, right now it's mostly a question of the consequences of the lockdowns, isn't it? Um, because that seems to be the biggest issue for most people. Um, Now, as I said, I'm a novelist, and so I'm a member of the Writers Guild
All right.
uh, in Norway, and we get updates on the situation for writers. A writer is a small business, right?
Yeah.
And lots of people are struggling. Now, I'm established as a writer, so I'm okay, but lots of people are struggling. And in other, if you own a restaurant, if you own, hairdresser, salon, things like that, you're struggling. And now, so yeah, so in short, my opinion is that this has been handled poorly by the governments in most countries that I know of, and it's a shame. Um, it looks like the cure I'm doing this. The cure
Right.
has worse than the sickness.
Yes, and absolutely, they're going to try their best to hide it. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately for us, the side effects are going to be bad, and people are going to actually be able to film it and then put it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, and we'll have more attention on it. But the unfortunate side is people are going to have to go through these side effects for them to be like, okay, we can't do this anymore. But a lot of us have been saying that this vaccine's no good because there's no data to say that it's good for us, other than Pfizer, who's, again, I've said this a million times, Pfizer's been sued so many times. How could they be trusted to
Mm.
head the vaccine, right? And so here we are talking about forcing people to take something that has not been proven to be effective, if you will.
Yeah, I'm going to be quite vocal about the vaccine because it's so important to speak out, and
Yes.
more people should do that. And we must not be afraid of that. I don't think it should be called a vaccine. If we're talking about mRNA,
Right.
it's not really a vaccine. I'm not against vaccines. I'm not, a crazy anti-vaxxer,
Right.
but the mRNA, it works in a different way than vaccines traditionally work. So, and so I think it's not a vaccine. Um, but the scary thing is we don't know anything about the side effects, the long-term side effects.
Right.
It is impossible, obviously, to know anything about it because it's been rushed. And from experience with other vaccines, we know that it takes time. It
Right.
takes time for these side effects to surface. So it's it's really scary. It's really scary what they're doing now. And if you read between the lines, what they're really doing is they're testing this out on elderly people right now. I
Right.
think those are among the first groups to get the vaccine, and they're hoping that there won't be long-term side effects. So because nobody's saying, no governments that I know have been saying that there won't be side effects, long-term side effects.
Well, so here's the something I read from the FDA. Right. So the FDA put out like a pamphlet, not a pamphlet, but a report. And in the report, they talked about the. This is a little strange, but they talked about the side effects that they're going to monitor after they issue the vaccine. So now you sit there and you're like, wait a minute, you guys are going to sit here and now monitor things that are going to affect us immensely. You know,
Hmm.
narcolepsy was on there, heart condition,
No, no.
lung damage
Hmm.
was on there, nervous, what you call it, nerve damage was on there. Uh, I think if I said heart was on there. I mean, it was so many. The list was long. It was
Hmm.
insanely long. Also, immuno enhanced diseases. So I guess they give you this vaccine.
No,
They want to
no.
see if your
Yeah.
immune problems would heighten. I'm like, who the fuck comes out with a drug, a vaccine, if you will, and then says, "Oh, by the way, we got to watch out for these," instead of just testing them out and then telling us, "Okay, these people can take it, these people can't." I never heard anything like that before. Kevin, thank you for the donation, man. We appreciate it. That's just insane to me. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're not getting that vaccine,
Nope.
and it's like in my family, no, no, we're not getting that vaccine. I would rather live out in the wild uh, for the rest of my life than well, come to think that doesn't sound so bad anyway. But
That's not at all.
no, we're not getting that vaccine, and it's like Um, and here's the thing: the disease for us, my family, my
Right.
household, none of us are in any at risk of getting very sick at all if we get the this COVID thing. So, and we're not that. Even if I believed everything that is being said from governments and mainstream media, even if I believed it, I would not sacrifice my own body and my children just to, I don't know, to be a little less infectious to old and frail people. I'm not that. I'm not that. What's the word? You know what I mean? It's.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that, and I don't believe in what they're saying concerning that anyway. But it's like it's insanity to me. This is complete, utter insanity. And what I'm hoping is that half year, 6 months, or 12 months maybe from now, the attitude will have changed because of the side effects that will surface.
Yes.
But it's just horrible that we need that in order for people to change their minds about this.
Well, right. Unfortunately, some people are going to have to bite it for us to know, okay, it was like what we said, it was bad. And again, I tell people Pfizer is a company that cannot be trusted. They they lied about too many drugs in the past, and they've been sued for lying about those drugs in the past,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
now they're the lead in the vaccine. I'm like, how the fuck did they become the lead? That's like me becoming an astrophysicist with no background and talking out of my ass actually for years, and then they make me the lead astrophysicist in the United States when I have like
Hmm.
no backing. I've been caught in fraudulent statements repeatedly. It's the same thing. They've been caught so many times, and yet here we are. People are lining up for this shit. I don't get it. People are just being controlled.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say there is nothing new about this because if we look at history, if we look back in history, this mechanism that we're seeing now is, it's happened before, and when you look at it, it's almost a religion now, and it looks a lot like parts of the the Dark Ages or medieval age, with how people would. It was so important to signalize and to show how virtuous you were, and like, yeah, I could talk about that for a long time, but there's a lot of that going on, and so I'm looking at this with a historian's perspective, actually. um, and if you look at it like that, it's not going to look pretty in a few months, but what do I know?
Well, listen, one side of me hopes we're wrong about the vaccine, doing what it's going to do. But unfortunately, we have to wait and see. Okay, so, all right, guys. So 600 people watching. Could you guys do me a favor if you haven't already? Hit the like and subscribe. And for those of you who don't know who Bjorn is, head over to his channel, Bjorn Andreas Bull Hansen on
Yes.
YouTube, and like and subscribe to his channel. You will not regret it, guys. Uh,
Well, thank you.
yeah. So next question. Let's see where we go. You know what? This is a really political question. So I just want to see uh, how not how you answer it, but what do you think? More importantly.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you're in Norway and you're watching America unfold. Obviously, right? We're going down this rabbit hole that we are not going to be able to come back out of. What is your opinion on the current situation of the country involving BLM, the liberal insanity, the Me Too movement? The whole I'm a boy, but I'm
Mm.
really a girl. What is your consensus on all of this? A hard question, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, Uh, what I would like to say is that lately, or last few months,
Oh no.
conservative than the USA. Um, it seems like people are getting a bit crazy over there in your country. Um, now, I BLM thing, um, it's highly problematic. The organization, and it's like, okay, I'm going to say it. It's like I do realize that there is a problem with police brutality and all that. If there is racism in the police, I don't know. But racism in any form is obviously a bad thing, and all that. I shouldn't have to say, it's I don't like it. I don't like it. And also, and this I talked about. We were and we saw an ad, and this just to illustrate the insanity here. And this is actually something happening in England, but it happens it came from your country.
Okay.
People taking the knee, right, on the football field.
Right.
In England, they have these teams. They have been bought by companies with very Arab sounding names, right?
Right.
Like Fly Emirates and things
Right.
like that. So they are taking a knee for they're standing up against things like police brutality,
Right.
racism, and yeah, bad things.
Right.
Yeah, and it says, and they are advertising while they're doing states that are in the Middle East
Right.
that practice. No, they have uh, um, women have no liberty,
Right.
and there is widespread racism, systematic actually in those states. It's insanity. Why aren't people not pointing out this?
Hypocrisy.
It makes me sick actually.
Yeah.
No, and to answer the question, I think things have gotten a little bit crazy over in your country. But there's this pendulum thing. It's going to probably come back,
Right.
and most of that nonsense will probably go away. That's my personal opinion.
I hope so, man. I really hope so. So, how did your country, how did they handle the whole COVID outbreak?
Not so well.
Okay. So,
No, but they could have done worse. Uh, we had a lockdown. When in March we had a lockdown. That was pretty much a complete lockdown. I can't remember how long it lasted. We did a 2 week, 100% lockdown here in my family.
wow.
So we isolated ourselves for 2 weeks because we didn't know what this was, right?
Right.
And after that, it's been quite liberal. People have been we've had these rules: keep distance and wash your hands and so on. But they've opened up, but then they closed down again now this fall. And what I would like to say is that I sense, for some reason, a huge change in people's attitude, and that's started. This is just my subjective opinion. It
Right.
started 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know why, but now I see people wearing these face masks all over the place,
Really?
and they are avoiding me in the stores like I'm going to, cough at them and kill them and all that. I didn't see that before, so maybe it's just it needed to take a while. Norwegians, they move slowly in a way. It needed to take a while, you know. We needed those months in order to change the attitude. Sadly, it yeah. So how did they handle it? Yeah, I'm not impressed.
It's funny you say that because the mask thing here, it's so I question this, and I said it in my last video. I just released it like a half hour ago or whatever, and I said, how are the COVID rates going up here in New York? How are they going up if better than 95% of the people are wearing a mask and everyone's social distancing,
Mm,
right? And yet the numbers are still going up, hospitalizations are going up. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. We have more
mm,
people doing it correctly,
yeah.
right? And more people are still getting sick. So obviously there's something at play,
Mm,
but I don't want to get into that because that's, conspiracy theory. Though I did touch on it in the video, I think there's something wrong with the way either we're responding to this or the way we are perceiving this. It's one of the two, or like a lot of people believe, and myself, we're just being flat out lied to. And they're
mm.
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the numbers, the numbers are very interesting. As a, I'm not a statistician, but that was I have a business administration as my education, and so statistics was part of that. But
Oh,
still, I studied enough statistics to be able to look at this and look at the numbers in a different light. And it it it's from the start, this has been very strange. It doesn't look like anything else. Um, so, for instance, and here's just this is not a conspiracy theory or anything like that. Um, they say that, well, we had a huge spike, the second wave,
right.
huge spike. Why do they not um, take into account that we are testing more people now than we did back in March?
Right.
A lot more people, because that will obviously affect the result, right? So if you were to present the numbers in a correct way, you would use a number to that would take the it wouldn't look as dramatic. That's what I'm trying to say,
Gotcha.
because you need to take into account how large a portion of the population you are actually testing. Why are they not doing that? It doesn't add up. It's not This is not rocket science. So, and that's just one example are being presented in a very strange way. I put it that way.
Right. No.
So, and it's constantly like that. And the big question is why?
Well, I mean, I listen. Here in New York, they are constantly telling people get tested all the time, get tested no matter what, whether you're symptomatic or not. They keep telling you this. So I'm like, obviously
Mm,
numbers are going to go up. They're telling people to get tested with a testing testing measures that are not accurate. So there's more
mm,
false positives than there are false negatives, and they get both actually in this test. But there's a lot of false negatives, sorry, false positives, and yet people
yeah,
will take a third test, or sorry, second or third test, and it'll be negative in those two tests. But then they don't go back and redact the first test that they took. They leave
mm,
that in there. They have to be leaving them in there because, like
mm,
Elon Musk, who interestingly enough took three tests, or was it four, and he came back negative on two and negative on two and positive on two. And he says we have to sit down and discuss this. And after that, conversation died. I didn't
yeah.
hear anything else about it afterwards.
And
Donald,
there
thank
is
you for
one
the donation.
thing. Let me just, yeah, you want to take
No,
a
no, no, go ahead. Go
question?
ahead.
Um, in Norway, we count the fatalities, people who die from COVID,
Right.
that COVID is the reason, right?
Right.
That's a COVID death. And I understand. So we have, I can't remember, the total number since the start is 350 or 300, no, 380, I think, something people. If you look at Sweden, who had a different approach, they didn't lock down. The numbers are much, much higher. And the population is only, I think there are the Swedish population, I think, is twice the Norwegian population.
Okay.
But still, it's way up there. But they are counting differently. They are counting, as I understand it, they more like in your country, you count deaths with COVID as a COVID death. And that's completely different from counting a COVID death as someone dying because of COVID,
Right.
right? And this is hugely important, and it's not being talked about much. Why?
Well, because they're I think that, again, because they're lying.
Mm.
There's something else at play. There's got to be something else at play, or the masses are just insanely stupid. I don't know how to look at it, but it's one or the other, right? So, Donna, thank you for the
Yeah, there's
again.
also that. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
No,
Berserk.
just to draw a parallel to the First World War. You know what they did? They were all very old-fashioned. The people who moved the little pieces on the tables in the strategy room, right?
Right. Right.
And so they did the same, and they just poured people into those fields to be killed. And it didn't work, what they were doing. It didn't work,
Right.
but they just kept doing it. They just kept doing it um, because changing the strategy, that would mean that they had to admit that they had done wrong. It was, so they couldn't do that. So they just had to keep doing it because they had put so much into their strategy. So maybe, and this is just me guessing, maybe what we're seeing is that governments, they just have to keep doing what they have been doing because they went so far down this road that changing the strategy now would mean that they would these politicians would lose their job.
Right.
They would not get re-elected. But I don't know.
I,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
I think that's no. I think you're right. Maria, Berserker Gang, and hold on. Merry Christmas 2.0. Thank you for the donation, guys. Listen, people are saying depopulation, the Great Reset, um, trying to crash the economy, sterilizing the human race. Who knows? Though I do find it interesting that pregnant women can't take this vaccine, and kids are not allowed to take this vaccine. So these are two groups of people who you think would need it more than anyone else, and now they're walking that back, saying, "Well, those two can't take it," and I think they're going to change it later. Immunocompromised people won't be able to take it as well. So now that's three groups of people. So if you got three groups of people, that means your study wasn't long enough to actually see the outcome, because they said, one of the articles I read, they said they're not sure what might happen to pregnant women because they didn't test it on them. But a doctor who worked for Pfizer did come out and say there's a protein in the vaccine that could, he didn't say definitely, but could abort babies and pregnancies, if you will. So that being said, they're not sure with anything about this vaccine. That's a giant red flag.
I'll tell you, I'll say some words that will be very chilling.
Okay.
Uh, this is the study.
That makes perfect sense, actually. That, that makes perfect sense that this is a study and we're the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So I have this is one of the my bigger questions, because you're over there and you're hearing it. You might be hearing it a little more than we are here. But are you guys, is your country or other European countries, or not other, but European countries, talking about freedom passes or forced vaccinations?
Um, yes, people are talking about it.
Really?
The Norwegian health minister has said that it's not going to be mandatory
Okay.
because that's not how we do it in Norway. Now, I think he's a good person, the health minister.
Okay.
I actually think he's a good person. He's a good and honest person. I do believe that. But I do fear that he might be replaced in the future. Um, there are now forced or mandatory vaccinations. It's a big question here. Um, but I think, as other people have said, it won't be like that. It will be like this. Sorry, you can't board an airplane without your vaccination card. Oh, sorry, you can't open your business as a hairdresser. As a hairdresser, you can only accept customers with a vaccination card. And your employer will say that, well, oh, you want to come to work, you want to have you keep a job, you need to produce your vaccination card. Um, that's more, how it will look, I think, and that's in effect mandatory vaccination. You know,
Well, it's funny because people were saying they're not going to force us to, take the vaccine. I'm like,
yeah, I think, yeah,
I think no matter how you look at it, they're forcing us. Whether you tell people you can't get on a plane, you can't work, you can't eat, you can't go to the supermarket, you're forcing them, right? It's just that they're playing with the vocabulary, they're playing with words to make it look like they're not, but they actually are, because
yeah,
I think they I think they think that we're stupid and we don't see past their bullshit. But
yeah,
obviously, we got to wait and see who does what because that's where we're at right now. Who's going to be the first one to pull that trigger? And here in the United States, I can guarantee you, Chicago, New York, L.A. are probably going to be the first cities to demand that. And I don't understand why people are not fighting back. At this point, right now, I'm all for throwing bags of shit at these politicians. Like I'm all for it because these people that we voted in work for us, but seemingly
exactly.
but
Mm,
seemingly they think we are their subjects, like we're in some
mm.
kingdom or something, and we have to sit by and take it for what they're telling us. Oh, you'll be safe if you let us lead you and tell you how to live your lives. That's exactly where we're going right now.
Yeah, your politicians, even your president, they are your servants,
Right, and not the
and
other
they
way around.
should be reminded that that's what they are. Um, now you know, yeah, it's discussing the vaccine and the possible forced vaccination now is one thing. Uh, if we move forward 6 months, it will be completely different. So either they have made enough people to take that vaccine so that they will, be happy with the money they earned,
Right.
or um, or they haven't managed to do that, and that's when they take out the heavy guns, and that's when you will see that, well, actually it will be mandatory, even though they won't call it mandatory. You know.
No, you're right. Joe, thank you for the donation. And Prepper Days, thank you for the donation, man. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So listen, I mean, um, how do you see? Sorry, how do you see the rest of this year, or not this year? Sorry, how do you see next year playing out?
I wish I knew.
Well, just a guess.
um, Well, yeah. Well, some things I do know. I feel well. We don't know anything, but I think nothing of the the social distancing and nothing of that will go. It won't go away. A vaccine won't change that at all. No.
Oh,
Um, and I see the economy when small businesses start closing doors for good.
right.
Um, it hasn't. It's just started. We're just seeing the beginning of that. So I'm now. I think I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but I think 2021 will be a lot worse than 2020. Uh, a lot worse. That's what I would be willing to bet on that. A lot of money, actually.
Wow.
I'm not a betting man, but it's. I can't see how anything will get better in 2021. I can't. I just don't see that happening. So and also, and I need to say this because how your country is run affects Europe a great deal, and um, you get this combination, the Biden, uh, Kamala presidency and all that. It's it's a technocratic thing that's going to, yeah. No, I won't get further. Now let's just keep it at that. But I'm not optimistic. I'm sorry to say.
Well, listen, you're right. I don't see one year being bad, and then magically we enter 2021 and it's all flowers and roses and shit. So it once something bad starts happening like this, it only gets worse. And then
Hmm.
we hit the lowest point and then we go back up again. But until then, um, you're right. I think we're going to be for a rough ride next year as well. But we have to wait and see. Prepper Nation, thank you for the donation. And Prepper Nation wanted me to let you know that you inspired him to do what he does now.
Well,
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good channel. He's funny, and his life story actually is even more interesting. Um,
Okay. I'll check
it
it out.
yeah, you
Yeah.
should. He's that's a good channel he got, and just listening to him and the shit he went through like growing up and stuff like that. He touched on it a little bit, not a lot, but he's one of those guys that made it out of a shit environment and became something and has a good channel and a good following. So he's a guy that you should definitely watch when you get the chance to watch him. So guys, we are at the
Yeah.
58 minutes mark. If you have any questions for Bjorn, please ask him now. If not, we will be ending this soon. Because I also, guys, just to let you know real quick, I have a live stream later tonight. We're going to talk about the uh, contrast or comparing Songbird to what happened in that movie to what's happening now to what might happen later next year, if you will. So that's going to be the live stream later tonight at 9, the
Mm.
usual time. Tommy M, thank you for the donation, by the way. We appreciate it. So I'm just letting you guys know there will be a very, I would say, important live stream later tonight. So let's start with the questions. Oh, Prepper Nation asks, "What's your favorite bushcraft item?"
My favorite bushcraft item. uh, well, maybe my backpack actually.
Okay.
That's most people say my knife or my axe, but I like my backpack a lot. Um, because I spent a lot of time, many years actually, finding the perfect backpack for me.
Okay.
So yeah, I like my backpack.
That's interesting. I was 1,000% sure you were gonna say like your knife or your axe. Um, but Berserker Gang said his flint and steel. I think that is my favorite actually. My flint and steel is my favorite. Something that's gonna save my ass. That's my favorite item as well. Uh, Flint and
Yeah.
steel or the ferro rod. Those two, I don't go anywhere without. I'll go out in the wilderness with just those two, and I'll be fine. Um, but that was a good answer. Your backpack. What kind of backpack do you have,
Mm.
by the way?
Well, I actually have a very uncommon backpack for a bushcrafter. I like my sea packs or set packs are, are um, blast. I think it's very, very lightweight. It's
Okay,
they use it, the guys, the hyper lightweight guys. They
right.
they they like that backpack, but it's it works. I can bring everything, my axe and everything. So it's probably not the sturdiest backpack, but I like it.
Very good. Someone, James, damn it, that flew by too quick. I can't touch the screen. I find myself touching my computer screen like it's my iPad. Um, yeah, James asked a question. How Viking built a dome home? Is how Vikings built a dome home? I guess he's asking you that because I have no clue.
How they built a what?
Dome home? Dome, I guess, like a
A
dome shaped
dome.
home. Yeah,
Okay.
he's asking how they built it. Like I said, I wouldn't know where to go with that.
I'm sorry. I maybe that's my English. That's not.
Something you
Uh,
understand? All right.
I don't understand what dome home is, so I'm really sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I know how they built their homes, but um, yeah. Um,
Roundhouse is a dome home. He goes, a roundhouse is a dome. I guess, however they built their huts.
oh, a roundhouse. Yeah. Well, um, I associate that more with the Saxons, but we undoubtedly had round structures here as well.
Okay.
Uh, and well, how they did that? Well, um, not many people know this, but they braided the walls very often
Really?
with twigs. And you actually, if there's a TV show called Alone,
Yes.
I think it was in season 3, maybe. The guy with the no, no, the guy with the one of the guys, the one who won, he made a house like that.
Okay.
He I hope braided is the right word.
Yes. I know what
Yeah,
you're saying. Right. Right.
and
Right.
with sticks and two walls, and you put some isolation
In between it.
insulation material in between.
Right.
Um, and I've been to hands-on history museums, living history museums, and I've seen houses like those, and they are very beautiful. Uh, but that was not obviously not the only way the Vikings built their houses, and they were using the materials they had where they were. So that's why we see this huge variation in building techniques. So it would obviously be very different if you were somewhere in by the river
Right.
in Denmark, from on Greenland, for instance. The houses would look very different.
Very good. Forest ships. Yes, they can own firearms. So especially rifles. Oh yeah, guys. Moderators, if you can get the link to his channel, put it in the the chat for everyone. Thank you. I will put the link to his channel in the description section below when this is over. So let's see. Any other questions? All right, I think we are done with the questions.
Okay.
Bjorn, thank you for. Oh, a couple of people were asking about this before. Is it possible for you to, I guess, translate your books to English? Is that a thing that you guys can
Well,
do? Or?
I'm glad you asked. It's not so much a question of the translation itself. The first of my, I've written many novels, and one of my the historical Viking novels that I'm working on now. The first of those has been translated already into English, but the problem is getting a good book deal. So my agent is working on that. But there is a translation, but we need a book deal with the right publisher.
Okay.
Now, what you can do to help actually is to sign a petition. One of my viewers actually started a petition to have to convince publishers to publish my novels in English. And there is a link to my website in all my video descriptions under all my videos, and
Okay.
on my website, start page, the first page, you will see a link to that petition.
Very good. All right. So you heard that, guys. Head over to Bjorn's YouTube channel. Any one of his videos will have the link to that petition. If you want his books to be translated, I know I do. Head over there and sign the petition. That's the better way to go about it. All right, so that's it for today, guys, or right now. I will be on again later tonight. Again, we're going to be talking about what's going to start happening and comparing it to Songbird, because there's something interesting in Songbird that happens that at the end I'm like, very interesting, and one of my viewers pointed it out. So we're going to discuss the whole similarities of Songbird, what's going on now, and what next year is going to play out like. So if you guys don't mind, tune in later tonight at 9 o'clock, usual time, and I'm going to schedule it after this. Also, guys, head over to Bjorn's, again, his YouTube channel. You are not going to regret it. It's a very good channel. It's very informative. And you also get to hear what he thinks of, what's going on here in the United States and things like that in his other videos. All right, guys. So other than that, thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you for being on my
Also a
channel.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to my moderators for doing what you guys do. All right, guys. See you later.